After our hopes for a new reboot for Dino Crisis were dashed, Capcom released Exoprimal, a multiplayer-only dinosaur shooter. But in theory, we don't expect it to do as well as it really does. The game blends Overwatch's Hero, based 5v5 multiplayer with traditional single-player story progression, while also including PvP and PvE modes, sometimes in the same match, while maintaining horde survival as a core mechanic playing style. It's a mixture of different ideas of varying nature, but somehow Capcom succeeds in making everything fall into place to create an experience that is unique in itself and at the same time not too different either. It's weird, it's goofy, and wow, it's so much fun. The premise of Exoprimal is really goofy, which is like the plot of a budget sci-fi movie but has a much bigger budget than one might expect. Here's the gist of the story. There's an artificial intelligence called Leviathan created by experiments who has become conscious. And of course, he's become very evil. This artificial intelligence can somehow manipulate the very fabric of time and space and can conjure up multiple realities and universes pitting humans against dinosaurs in order to collect combat data and perhaps for its own entertainment too. On the surface, the plot does not seem very logical, and in fact the first few hours of the story seemed crammed into the game in order to give what is going on in the multiplayer some depth. But after those first few hours, something happened. The story starts by creeping into multiplayer matches, sometimes changing objectives entirely and introducing new elements in ways I haven't seen in any multiplayer game before. These parts, along with unlocking more of the story, slowly reveal a more complex and interesting plot than the game made us expect at its inception. It also helps that your teammates have distinct personalities and excellent voice acting, which leads you to empathize with them and form a strong relationship that allows you to immerse yourself in the story and the characters. This is probably Exoprimal's biggest flaw. It requires a lot of time investment to get ahead, especially since the game has only one gameplay, and the gameplay seems repetitive and meaningless until eventually the game changes direction. In the single-game mode Dino Survival, 2 teams of 5 are tasked with accomplishing a series of very interesting but initially limited in scope objectives in separate, albeit simultaneous, situations or in 2 universes. These goals usually boil down to killing huge waves of small dinosaurs, sometimes large dinosaurs and sometimes flying dinosaurs, while also capturing control points and escorting a control beacon to its designated point and uploading its data, presumably to private cloud data servers. But Leviathan, the team that achieves their goals the fastest gets a head start in the final round, which may offer another set of PvE-style goals, which also includes killing an insane number of dinosaurs, but can sometimes combine the 2 universes into one and require teams to compete against each other, some in order to accomplish goals first. While the 2 universes are not always guaranteed to be combined, at certain points during a match, the Leviathan AI will allocate a dominant player from one of the 2 teams, giving one player the ability to transform into a giant dinosaur and wreak havoc on the opposing team for a limited period of time. As someone who doesn't like competitive multiplayer much and doesn't have the quick reflexes to headshot within split seconds of seeing an opponent, Exoprimal's relaxed approach to multiplayer was much appreciated. The focus here is entirely on taking down the large hordes of dinosaurs charging toward you while keeping track of your teammates' locations, keeping an eye on your counters, and holding down the pedal button. It offers a different and unique experience where you are not competing against the other team for the highest kills, but there is still a sense of urgency and tension to complete the objectives before them and perform better. But after doing this for a few hours, you will start to get bored. At first, it seems that this is all the game has to offer, and the cycle of killing dinosaurs and completing the same missions becomes boring, especially due to the limited number of stages to play through. But after exactly 6 hours, the game is alive. Suddenly, the background story takes over, which is unlocked after each match through the analysis map, and the game throws in loads of variables that change the entire gameplay. These variables range from new enemy types, to fight, to new objectives to accomplish, new final rounds, and more. The best of these was, when the AI Leviathan went berserk, it canceled the entire match, pitting both teams to fight cooperatively in a 10-player boss battle with limited lives. This alone was an astonishing surprise, and certainly worth experiencing during the first few hours. I've never tried a multiplayer game that abandons its basic formula mid-match and says, let's try something completely different, introduces an entirely new mechanic and expects players to adapt to it in real time. Not only is it an ingenious mix of PvP and PvE with traditional story elements, but it also has a great mechanic for matching players who are on a similar level of progression and having them experience it all collectively at the time. Exoprimal's cartoony exterior hides some clever ideas underneath. There are too many surprises that I won't spoil here, but you should know that the first 5 to 6 hours of the game are very different from what comes after that, and the game keeps changing the formula every now and then to not only keep things fresh, but also to give a peek into the mind of the game, artificial intelligence and how it thinks. She's very wonderful. I just wish there was a way to choose exactly what type of match we want to play, instead of having to keep repeating until Leviathan decides to put us in another 10-person event. But it's not a benevolent AI, and so we have to put up with its wrath. Exoprimal is a hero-based shooter. That means it comes with a bunch of classes to choose from, which are divided into the usual 3. There is the offensive class that focuses on maximum damage and quick movements. Then there is the armored one, which is supposed to be in the front lines of the chaos, absorbing the maximum amount of damage. And the third class is the support class, which are basically the healed characters in the group who have firepower to get out of difficult situations. Each of these classes has different characters, or exosuits as the game calls them, to choose from, each offering a different style of play to cater to players with different skill levels and preferences. For me, I like simplicity and tend towards characters that are easy to play from the start and offer traditional gameplay. So my ultimate favorite in the offensive class was Deadeye, a clever machine gun wielding character who can also dodge attacks when needed and throw a grenade to clear out a large horde of dinosaurs. As for the armored class, I mostly played as Krieger, a large armored man equipped with a small cannon that, although it does little damage, it keeps the horde stationary for a short time, giving other players a chance to get some kills. He can also throw a bubble shield, which is especially useful when you're surrounded by enemies and want some space to kill them before they break. As for the healer class, I like 2 characters. The first is Skywave, who can blur enemies' optics as well as rotate them in a gravitational field for a few seconds. What I especially liked about this character is that she has a slipstream ability that allows her to hover in the air for an extended period of time, giving her a bird's eye view of the battlefield and making it easy for her to spot her teammates and shower them with healing potion. Another healer that I like is Nimbus, which has to be bought with game currency called Bitcoins, and is similar to my favorite healer Lucio from Overwatch. Similar to Lucio, she is fast at running and can switch between healing and dealing damage with her minigun. But she does have a few tricks that set her apart from Lucio, as she can unleash volleys of firepower with her spreadshot ability, as well as throw a holo warp that can summon allies to another location if they come into contact with them. Playing with exosuits is a lot of fun, and they can be equipped with different units to either increase their reload speed, double their damage output, or increase their overall health level. Each exosuit also comes with its own level of progression, which unlocks exclusive units for each of them that fundamentally changes how a character deals damage in a multiplayer match. Thus, your favorite exosuit may be completely different from what it was in the first hours of the game, and how it will be after you invest a long time in it. But this brings its own set of problems in a game that's mostly a teamwork, focused multiplayer game where team balance is crucial to survival. If, for example, you want to continue your progression as Deadeye, but the team already consists of 2 attack characters, you'll find yourself in a situation where you'll either have to ask one of them to change his character or change your entire character class for a more balanced experience. This can be easy when you're playing with a group of friends, but when you're playing with complete strangers, like I've had my entire playing time, asking other players who don't want to connect with you but do their own thing can be a difficult task. There were several instances where I was about to unlock an exosuit, but had to abandon it entirely to balance out a team that lacked an armor or a healer, resulting in the entire team being defeated every few minutes before I switched. It also doesn't help that Exoprimal doesn't include a pre-match loading screen showing which exosuits your teammates have selected. You have to look at your teammates directly and see which player has chosen which character, which can be confusing if you are not familiar with the design of each exosuit and have to guess which one is in the offensive or healing class. Most of the exosuit builds are fairly indistinguishable from each other, particularly the attack and healer classes. Add in the purchasable alien skins, and it leaves us wondering, having a pre-match loading screen showing each selected exosuit like in Overwatch will help eliminate confusion and may also help players communicate better in order to balance the team. Exoprimal doesn't even warn players if a team is unbalanced until a player dies once. It's likely to be too late by then, and making any quick adjustments is difficult because you're always racing against the clock. In the end, exoprimal requires a significant investment of time to get going, but once you get past that, it becomes a very rewarding, exhilarating, and creative multiplayer experience. I would give the game a rate an 8 out of 10.